The stock of JPMorgan has had a great run since October last year, but given the somewhat muted response to its latest earnings, is the trend for this major investment bank about to end? I thought it'd be interesting to take a look at JPMorgan. You can see the size of the move since late October last year, going from about $95, $96 a share, trading up more recently, up to about $167. We did see better than expected earnings for JPMorgan just during July, but the response by the market has been fairly muted. And I think it's perhaps always a cause for concern when we see what should be received as good news, but the market doesn't react that way. So I was wondering, given the somewhat sideways trading over the last month, is this trend about to come to an end? So as usual, I'll talk a bit about the earnings now, some of the recent news, then we'll come back onto the chart and look at things in more detail. Hello, I'm David Jones from Capital.com, and I thought on our stocks channel, the next one we'd look at would be JPMorgan, the major US investment bank, considering they've just had their earnings. How's the market reacted? And what do the next few months look like? So as usual, in this video, I'll talk about some of the recent news, then we'll jump back onto the platform and take a look at the technicals. If you're watching this and you haven't subscribed to our channel, if you could subscribe, it does help support the channel, and it means we can continue to push out lots of different content in the weeks ahead on the various stocks that we cover. Right, let's take a look at JPMorgan in a bit more detail. So just to put them in their category, they are, it is the largest US bank by assets, and it actually is the fourth largest bank in the world. We had their earnings out earlier in July, and profits had jumped by 150% in the 3 months to June. So a really strong performance by JPMorgan. This meant it comfortably beat earnings expectations. The market was expecting earnings of around about $3.20, and earnings for JPMorgan came in at $3.78. In common with a lot of stocks, we've seen a really strong performance since the March 2020 lows. If we went back in time to then to where we are now, the stock price of JPMorgan has pretty much doubled. And this year has been a good performance as well. For the year to date, JPMorgan stock is up 18%. We saw all-time highs hit in June, but a fairly, I suppose, muted reaction to those better than expected earnings. So is the market saying that actually up here they're fully valued, or are we just having a pause before the next move out to all-time highs? Let's talk about the levels to watch, then we'll jump back onto the charts and take a look at things in more detail. So I think the first immediate hurdle on the upside, just above $159 a stock, the most recent intermediate high. After that, I think we'll be looking back to that all-time high, just above $167. On the downside, the 145 level continues to provide good support, or it has done in recent weeks. I think if it breaks here, we could see something of a sell-off, but let's take a look at the charts and see what the next few months may have in store for JPMorgan stock. I thought we'd start things off with our usual 20-day moving average, a good trend following indicator when markets are trending. Buy signals like back here in November as the price moves above the moving average, and then sell signals like here in early June as the price falls below the moving average. It's got a little bit scrappy during July because the price has been going sideways. Moving averages no good in sideways trending markets because they just constantly flip between buy and sell because the price and the moving average are so close together. So at the moment, on the day of recording, you can see here the price has had a little move up towards the moving average, but at the moment it's still below it. So the last sell signal we had from that moving average is still very much valid. Looking at the RSI down here, it did dip into oversold on the 19th of July as the price moved down to about $145. More of that level in a second. And we've seen the price bounce back off it since then. So arguably from a trading point of view, some people may consider that a shorter term trading opportunity because we've seen the price bounce back from an oversold position. So it might be an interesting one to watch in the sort of short to medium term. But what I'd like to focus on is the price action, because this 145 level is a really important one for me. So let's take a look at that. Let's pick up on the trend first of all. We had this great run from late October up to those fresh all-time highs in June. So a reasonable job by the trend line here, but it has been a bit lackluster since then. It's fallen out of the trend, but just because the trend line breaks doesn't necessarily mean the trend is over. It can just mean the trend's going to continue, but at a slower rate. So I don't necessarily think that's the be all and end all. But for me, the really big level to watch is these lows that have been in place well, pretty much all year. If you go back to February, the price dipped down to 146, and we've seen this level continue to hold the price up. So some people who like looking at patterns might consider what we've going on at the moment is something of a potential head and shoulders in the price. It's perhaps not a textbook one, but that's something that some people might pick up on. But for me, the big level to watch is really this 145 level, pretty much. We saw it dip down to it, down to 145.60 on the 19th of July, coinciding with that RSI going oversold. So I think it's an important one to watch. So again, from a short to medium term trading point of view, I think if some were thinking about being buyers now because of the technicals, then there may well be some stop losses below that 145 level. While it's above here, I'd probably still be leaning to saying, well, perhaps the stock still looks mildly positive. We've got higher highs and higher lows. And I think, many technical analysts would still take that view. If it starts breaking below 145, the stock would be on a 5-month low if it moved below there. So it could be a suggestion that perhaps finally this trend is ending and we're going to start targeting the next support from late January at around about the 128 to 130 area. So it's a really interesting one to watch here, even though it's been broadly sideways for the last month, despite those earnings coming out. Let's see how this 145 level performs. If it ends up being a springboard again for the stock to have a look at the all-time highs, or if we see it start to crumble and a trend, a new trend downwards show itself from there. So a really interesting one to watch, I think, over the next few weeks, and all eyes on 145. That's it for this update. We'll come back to it in the weeks ahead and do another update and see how they're faring, see if they've moved out again to all-time highs. But for now, from me, David Jones and Capital.com, we'll leave things there. Good luck with your investing. For more trading videos just like this, please subscribe to our channel.